All right. Wanted to share something with you guys. So this is the Headrush core that I'm dealing with, and this works across all the Headrush Prime core and Flex Prime units. So we know that we can do NAM now. We can use NAM models now, NAM A2, which is awesome. It's just another way for us to get killer tone. So, but I wanted just to point out something that I felt like the Headrush Prime core and Flex already have amazing sounding amp models, and I'm going to demonstrate something to you that I think a lot of people, I don't know if they just don't know how to do it or if they just don't want to have to dial anything in or whatever. But I feel like you can take any model and as soon as you put it in, it might sound good or it might sound, not to your liking, but you can dial it in. Like you can dial it in exactly how you want, just like you would if you owned a tube amp, which I've owned several of them. And, I've never taken a tube amp out of the box, plugged it in, and just strummed and never touched the knobs. I always have to adjust the mids, the highs, the lows, the gains, or whatever. I always have to do something to make it sound the way I want it to sound. And that's a tube amp, right? So it's the same thing with modelers. So anyway, I'm not here to preach, but I do want to show you a really cool thing that you can do. So here I have an example. I have a preset called AC30 NAM versus HR model, which is Headrush model. So we have I have a scene that just turns on the NAM and a scene that turns off the NAM and turns on the Headrush amp and cab model, like that. Okay, so I want to show you something here. If you just listen to the NAM, this is a Tone Junkie AC30 NAM capture, which sounds amazing. They always make good stuff over there at Tone Junkie, but it sounds really good, and I want to just let you listen to it. I'll just hit a G chord. So, all right. Then if I hit the model, to me it sounds almost identical, if not exact. Maybe there's some slight variations in the mids somewhere, in one of those 2 or 3 of those notes or something, but it sounds really good. Here's the NAM. Here's the model. Now, to my ears, I do feel like the NAM model might have a slight higher EQ in the upper mids, just ever so slightly. But I'm not going to make any changes to that. I'm just going to leave it the way it is. I will show you what I did do with the model to make it sound like that. When I first put the model in, it did not sound that way. It didn't sound as good as the NAM. Right off the bat, it did not sound as good as the NAM. However, this is all I did. With the IR, or the actual speaker model, I changed the microphone from the condenser 67, which is default, and changed it to a dynamic 57. That's all I did there. Okay, and that's just, again, to my ear, to my liking. And then on the amp model itself, on the cut, it was set at 50. I made it 53%, so I bumped it up 3%. That's it, right? But I had to go into the amps EQ, and I made some major changes here. I reduced the input gain to -7, and the output gain, I increased it 1 dB up to 1 dB, right? So I'm going to explain why, and I'm going to demonstrate this. So if I go to the NAM, right now I'm on the NAM. I know you can see the screen of the model, but just so you know, I am actually on the NAM, okay? So if I go to the NAM and I hit a G note, all right? To me, that sounds very musical, very natural. Sounds like a real amp in my opinion. When I switched it over to the Headrush model, again, before I changed it to -7. Matter of fact, let's just do that. Let's put these back to default. So here's how it sounds default. I don't know if you can hear that, but to my ears, I hear this buzziness. It's a buzzy. It's not a natural sounding note. It almost sounds like my guitar is buzzing. Right? Here's the NAM. Here's the the Headrush model. It doesn't sound terrible, but it doesn't sound natural to me. So something is causing that little buzz. And what I found is that by reducing the input gain to around 7, and then just to compensate the volume, bump that up 1 dB. Right? Now, see, that's smooth. It's smooth. Sounds more natural. Sounds more like the NAM model. It's smooth. It's a smoother sounding note. I like it. Right? So there we have it. All I did was take the Headrush model, change the mic, adjust a slight bit of the cut, and went into the amps, excuse me, the amps EQ, and adjusted the input and output. That's all I did. And to me, it sounds almost exact. There's your NAM. There's your Headrush model. Headrush model, NAM. That was NAM, this is Headrush. I don't know, guys. I think it sounds really, really close, and so close, in fact, that I wouldn't spend a dime more trying to improve that. I just wouldn't. You know, I think it sounds great. Throw in some reverbs and some delays and some distortions and stuff, whatever it is you need to do for the song, and go to town. Sounds great. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it was educational. Talk